So dudes, or should I say EIE, it's been a long time since a team that isn't Brazilian has won a big Siege event. Not counting majors, Brazilian teams have been on top for the past year and a half. Siege Invitational 2024, Invite 2025, and recently, the Mickey Mouse Reload. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. It's hard to believe that NA has been near the airport for just about every single Siege LAN event thus far. The days of the famous SSG roam and the Bolo TSM core are basically ancient history by now. The G2 that Fabian Bill Belichicked to Invite at 2023 is long gone as well and separated into different places. A long time ago, it was stereotypically described, the Brazilian playstyle, as a sort of no-brain, all-aim kind of playstyle. Anybody who still says this doesn't know ball. Nowadays, if anything, the region that emphasizes the all-aim playstyle would be North America, with a big emphasis on acquiring star gunners and emphasizing independent playmaking skills. Your Newers, your Stompins, your Spoits to a certain extent, although I'd say his playstyle has adapted over time. These are generalities, and they shouldn't be applied to every single team. But I can remember this being a strange fad in the Siege esports space a little while ago around the Atlanta Major, with the so-called M80 Super Team that didn't manage to make it out of the group stages. Since esports is so young, a lot of people end up figuring out the lessons that traditional sports have solved a long time ago. Talented players need a good structure behind them, and just assembling a quote-unquote all-star team with a bunch of talented players isn't going to guarantee you success. One thing that Brazilian teams do better than every other region is commit to their rosters. And I believe that is the key to their success. To illustrate this example to you, I'll start with what I saw as the beginning of the Great Brazil Dynasty at the Blast Atlanta Major in the fall of 2023. Now, I have my own biases. Ubisoft flew me out to this event and I got to see it in person, which was really cool. And I got to meet the player JB92 and chat with him for a limited extent. But you can follow a pattern from here on out. W7M, the team that won this event, beating Loss 3-1, it's a core that consists of the Brazilian 5-stack that a lot of people are familiar with. Herds, KZ, JB92, Felipox, and Nade. Interestingly, another core Brazilian 5-stack over at FaZe lost relatively early coming out of groups, and they didn't make a million roster changes. That 5-stack consists of Cyber, Souls, Vita King, Handy, and KDS. Anyway, this FaZe clan got beaten by Loss in the semifinals. You might think losing a big event like this necessitates roster changes. A big social media announcement saying, "We wish player all the best," followed by Twitter drama, speculation as to where this player will go. What are they going to pay him? Is he getting paid more here versus there? Nope. In this case, the 5-stack at FaZe that got eliminated in the semifinals went on to win the most recent Siege Invitational in Boston. That same 5-stack of Cyber, Souls, Vita King, Handy, and KDS. And they had to play against the team that just won Reload, Furia, which is comprised of Herds, KZ, JV92, Felipox, and Nade. Comparatively, North American Siege rosters kind of look like scrambled eggs, with players going around like high-dollar trading cards, often at the drop of a hat. Back at the Atlanta Major, your Space Station roster consisted of Fultz, Hot and Cold, Forest, J90, and Ashen, and that roster managed to stick together a little bit longer. By now, that roster has swapped out Forest and Hot and Cold for Benjamaster and Newers. So I can see the case to be made that there are some NA teams that keep their cores relatively contained, but Dark Zero is not one of those teams, aside from NJR and Pambazoo. From the Atlanta Major, NJR, Pambazoo, Canadian, Gaveni, and Rice was the roster. Then to Invite 2024, Gaveni and Rice depart, and they bring on Bolo and Nafe. To Canadians, roster switch, and Kobilax brought on at Invite 2025, and then finally Bolo's second retirement, Kobilax's ouster, and the signing of Spirits and Citizen. So lots of changes. And remember M80 from 2 years ago? Completely different roster. That whole super team fad died out real fast. But Fabian's coaching, so hey. Brazilian teams tend to stick together for longer, and the rest, in my opinion, shouldn't really be a secret. I think that if we just look at that logically, there's a good chance your team is going to figure out important chemistry and subsequently playmaking problems. Being able to play off of each other without needing to spell every single thing out makes anything more efficient. Experience earned among the players getting reps in over and over again definitely plays a factor. But it also has a lot to do with the fact that Brazilian Siege is just perfect. Brazil's style of siege play is methodical, smart, and most of all, assertive. That is the key distinction about Brazilian siege that I think makes them stand out. When there is map control to be taken, they work together as a team to take that control as fast as possible. And they don't second guess themselves to the degree that some other teams might. Their fundamentals are pretty much perfect. If you're looking for examples, you can just pull up any wide range of matches from Reload recently, especially the grand final where Cyclops was certainly a good team and not a pushover, but it was clear that Furia was more experienced. This match was still relatively fun to watch, and I think it serves as a good learning experience for Cyclops. I suspect we haven't seen the last of them. But to some degree, at their expense, I will play a breakdown I did of a round that I think summarizes the strengths of Brazilian siege very well. Aim differently to beat these guys. So we have this glass in garage, and we realize smartly that the glass in garage is going to be a huge pain in the ass later on. A glass in the late round for a smoke execute, right? Grim, Capital, crap, hatch drops. A glass in the back pocket with this angle, pressuring people out of red, the rotate for the other bomb site, and maybe even the staircase to the left if somebody gets antsy and tries to play for a pick. Glass here basically plays a power position, much like a defending anchor would, except this is on attack for a plant. So smartly, the defense looks at this, CAG looks at this, and they're like, okay, Glass, we're gonna kill you, bro. We don't care. We're going to kill you.
I am deploying a drone.
And so they send, how many people here? They send not one, not two, but 3 different people here. 3 different people. They are gonna triple swing the Glass the moment that he's caught on the board, because they're like, okay, we have to get there now, and we're just gonna overwhelm him with man count. He can't kill all 3 of us. It's not possible, and that's true. That's true. But there's just one tiny problem with this play. They were not doing a 2-2-1 backstab, which is what you would commonly do with a Glass for this kind of situation, is a backstab where he kind of plays back, right, and tries not to die until he gets triple swan. They send a refrag teammate, and he gets a pick on the double back. So not only did you just send 3 people away to kill 1 guy, and then completely give up site control, which is what Furia is going to exploit here, because they see this huge gap, and Glass, in his dying moments, probably calmed. There's 3 people garage, because you can hear the amount of footsteps from different operators. So that tells the rest of the team, okay, hit site, hit site, hit site. And then you're here for a refrag. So even if the slight chance happens that they still manage to hold out on the site for just a little bit longer, right, in a relatively even man count, they can't bring the 3rd player back to even out the man count for those gunfights on the site. So that means the attack can just play trade and just get in that motherfucker. And now they have complete and total control. And now the attack is playing the defensive site like the defense would be playing if they were doing a default. So, like, literally they just Uno reverse carded them. Look at this. If he gets a pick here. But yeah, drone, right? Their drone game is perfect. Look, there's a drone right there on the couch. I don't know, I can't really, like, go right to it. But Cheapasu has no fucking clue this drone is here. And then look at this. They're panicked. They're so panicked. Oh shit, I need to get fenders down. I need to do this. I need to do that. Oh my god, where are they? It's right there. It's right there. It's right there, bro, on the couch. He has no clue. He has no idea. Because why? Why would you have to worry about somebody in my bomb site? Like, they're the defender and I'm the attacker. The answer is you normally don't, but this is Furia. They never let you get away with positioning mistakes like that. And now they're playing the Goyos for their own post plant. They're Uno reverse carding the Goyos canisters because now the defense has to play retake.
They're literally playing their attack like they're playing defense. Not just, oh, I have to hold angles. No, down to the positioning of the players in the bomb site. They're literally playing anchor positions on attack. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so that is obviously an example of an aggressive take by Furia. And it's certainly something I think any team could have attempted to do. But I don't think any team could have made the decision to really full send here. I think a lot of teams would default up Garage and play it very methodically, very slow. Something else that Brazilian teams do a good job of is aggressive team play. It is extremely rare to catch a solo player for a free punish. Even in this case, with the Glass clearly outnumbered and outgunned by 3 other players, JV92 was still in the backline able to get a refrag. In the event that a player is solo, a lot of the time when a Brazilian player is in a solo position, they're playing in a safe position from which they can dictate the terms of the gunfight. And if you need a push, that solo player suddenly isn't solo anymore. They might have somebody on window repels on the other end of the building waiting for a cutoff or a trade opportunity. These Brazilian teams have great tempo control. They never go faster than they need to, and they're not afraid to go blisteringly fast when it's expedient. They can play anywhere from 0 to 100 miles an hour at a moment's notice.
Somebody over here, I'm not sure who, is going to pressure the Spider-Man guy. Impact, kablam, 2 huge picks out of it. And then other window guys are asking, yo, what's going on with the Spider-Man angle hold here? The Capital is supposed to be preventing this from happening.
Keep it active.
What's Capital doing? He's fighting. He's fighting KZ. He's fighting KZ, I think, from the first floor of the lobby. The lobby is so fucking big, right? You have to drone out this entire space. And there's just nothing they can do to stop Philly Pox from making that play.
That flexibility is dangerous. A good example is how a lot of Brazilian teams will just kind of sit outside the windows on Cafe Top Floor and wait very patiently for an opportunity to get into the building. Now, if you were playing ranked, it's kind of a different story, but people would look at this and think that it's slow, bad play. Why is Ash sitting outside on a window at a minute 30? Because there's no reason to go in the building yet. That's pretty much it. We need to drone. We need to find a way to clear some positions. We have plenty of time. It's a top floor attack. We don't have to take as much time to move through the map. Brazilian teams command the clock very well. They don't panic when time starts running short. They also don't play passively to the point where they let opportunities slip away from them. There's no unique threat of, oh, these guys play really aggressively. That's what makes them tick. Oh, these guys play really passive. That's what makes them tick. They can waltz and they can break dance. And I think this is what makes Siege Siege. People will either tell you it's a game of adapting or a game of planning. And really, it's both. It's knowing when to do one or the other. This flexible style of Siege play is the meta. This is the dominant form over the fuck it full send gunner gameplay or the checklist meta. Something else that helps Brazilian teams is that these guys can cut their teeth over the course of many years with steel sharpening steel. When you get to this level of play, these guys can all scrim each other. Now, don't get me wrong. This video isn't meant to drag other regions to make Brazil look good by comparison. I want Brazil to be seen as a good region off its own merit. But there is a reason that North American teams will travel to Brazil just to scrim against Brazilian teams with closer ping. It is prudent to get your ass kicked by people who are performing better than you so that you can learn. Another thing that gets talked about with the Brazilian style of Siege, if you want to call it that, is their aim style. And I love breaking this down because it does such a good job of making the morons who say Siege isn't tactical self-report. If you've been playing Siege for a long time, there's a good chance you've seen any wide number of flashy movement techs. The record holder for kills in Siege right now is Furia's Herds, and he often gets looked at as the quintessential example of Brazilian aim. It's clean, it's pie slicing, it's strangely enough pretty fucking reminiscent of how you would think a tactical LARP bro would want to play the game. Herds is not the first person to shoot like this. Even when Siege was a lot faster in terms of the leaning and the aim speed, guys like Palu were doing the same thing. American teenagers often describe the behavior of walking around the map with your gun aimed at crosshair level like a smart person as bot walking. which comes to show you a lot about North American Siege, in my opinion. TikTok culture for FPS games makes people stupider. All the flashy movement in the world isn't going to do anything for you unless you're making a kill easier to get. How many times have you been in that scenario where a rank star who's crashing out on your team because you didn't do this and didn't do that gets into a 1vx scenario and they do this flashy movement tech but can't hit a single shot? Guys like Herds understand, much like Tom Brady and Tim Duncan, that the only stat that matters is W's, and his clean, methodical style of Siege moving and shooting is becoming a standard for serious players to emulate. I know I've been suspiciously absent about commentary on European Siege in this video, and the reason for that is just I'm not that familiar with it compared to NAL, but I will say some teams have started to take important lessons from the Brazilian model of keeping a core group of players together. The moment you lose one event 2 months after signing your core probably isn't the moment to cut them. Obviously, the Saudi organization Falcons felt the need to throw a shit kajillion dollars at the former BDS roster, and the results may vary. But keeping that core of 5 together with their coach was deemed important for a good reason. Are they worth that amount of money? I don't really know. If I had Saudi money, I probably wouldn't even really check my checking account anytime I shelled out that kind of cash. Chemistry and development is just as important in traditional sports as it is in esports, and some people are starting to figure that out. Today, Brazilian esports orgs are serious about Siege. They're serious about winning, and they pony up the money, the decision making, and the courage to take risks and support their players. That is what lets you win championships. It's reasonable to say that without Brazil, Siege isn't Siege. Brazilians love Siege, and we owe a lot to this region for the game's success. Not to mention, of course, for selfish reasons, Brazilian Siege is just really fun to watch, too.